That's right, guys. We have an exciting show for you today, and I am like really elated to be talking to this man. I've known him for many, many years. Ladies and gentlemen, he's one of the best promoters out there, a true advocate of the sport of kickboxing. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vic Theriault. It's going to be a very interesting conversation. And I tell you that if you want to learn something about the promotions business, if you want to learn something about passion, if you want to learn something, just the history of our sport, you're getting ready to learn a lot about that today with Mr. Victor Theriault. Yes, he is the brother of the great kickboxing champion, Mr. Jean-Yves Theriault. And I'll tell you, he just had just a tremendous career, and he is going to tell us about, not only, he's not done. He's not done. He's still working on things. He's still energetic. He has a ton of things going on. But I always want to thank our sponsors, guys, Eastern Offset Printing, for all they do for us, guys. And also we're sponsored by, of course, the East Coast Classic and the Georgia Classic and all of the kickboxing tournaments that we do. We always want to thank you guys for coming out and supporting those events. More information at akpromotions.org. All of our events also can be seen on our website at akpromotions.org. We have several websites out there. Be sure to check them out. Speaking of the East Coast Classic, guys, as you know, it is coming up. The IKF East Coast Classic, October 8th through the 10th in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, at the Landmark Resort. Registration is going on right now at akpromotions.org. Men, women, and children fight for great championship belts and other awards. Guys, you got to be a part of it. Do not miss this great event. It's going to be a lot of fun. October 8th through the 10th at the Landmark. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, right, I want to go ahead and get right into it with this gentleman there. I know he's a busy man. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the one and the only Victor Theriault. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Johnny. Thanks for inviting me.
So awesome to have you on today. I'm going to say Victor. I can say Mr. Theriault, but I'm going to stumble on that name probably about 10 or 15 times. I'll just say Victor. It is so great to have you on. You know, you're out of Canada and everything. And what part of Canada are you in now?
I'm on the South Shore in St. Catherine, Quebec. St. Catharines, Quebec. And I've been here for about 32 years now in this part of I'm from Ottawa originally and born in New Brunswick.
Oh, okay. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So, you know, Charlie Davis Live, real talk, real solutions. Okay. You see that? Can you see that picture right there in the middle?
Yes, I can.
You have your finger on your temple. Now, you know, you can take a picture any way you want, right? You can take a picture like this. You can do it like that, right? But for some reason, you chose to put your finger on your temple as though you're trying to send a message. What is that message?
Well, first of all, that's a picture of one of the greatest photographer in Canada, Gary Munden, who did all my WCA fights. And he asked me for a mean pose, a thinking pose, and this was the thinking pose. So I just followed the instructions.
But is there a message behind that, though? There seems like there's a message maybe about you, or maybe about your personality, maybe about, do you consider yourself a thinker?
Well, yes, I consider that I have a what you call a trigger mind, and when I see an event, like I give you an example. Yesterday, I'm not that interested in baseball, but the fact that some guy thought of doing a baseball game at the Fields of Dreams, where that Kevin Costner movie, that excited me, and I watched the whole game. It was just like it was a nice piece of history of even having Kevin Costner on the field. And, you know, that to me, that's first class production.
Right. It's awesome. You know, we've been going through this COVID thing. And I mean, here in the United States, I know you're over in Canada. I want you to tell me, how has that affected what you do there? And how is it going in Canada?
Well, it affected my company with Joanne Corbet and my production partner, France Corbet, a lot, because we had the win in our sales with the World Combat Arena. We had a 3-year run at the casino where I did 21 events, 7 a year. And including 4 pro events. And it was a bit of a heartbreak because the last show we did was with my blood brother and one of my best friends, Mike Thomas, at the Playground Poker in Kahnawake. And that was the last event I did, and then it got completely shut down.
Right.
And for 2 years, I really enjoy creating an event. And I'm a bit like you for that. I have the passion of to seeing these young kids go into that ring in a setting that doesn't look cheap, that makes them look like they're in Vegas. And that was the dream I had when I was in the casino. Every guy that fought for Vic Theriault and the Aizudan tournament or the World Combat Arena was chosen because they had something special. They didn't have to be the greatest fighter, but they had a good heart. Everybody that fought through that in that tournament that were chosen to be like in the search for the next great kickboxer, well, they had a reason behind it. But for me, the joy I had was to seeing these kids being impressed to walk into the Montreal casino and fight in a HBO type setting.
Right. And and I can feel that passion about you as well as the productions that you've done over the years. But I want to go back a little bit about about why you are so passionate about kickboxing and stuff today. You were a martial artist, right? You were like a pretty avid martial artist, correct? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I started martial arts when I was 15, and I convinced Jean-Yves to follow me because I didn't want to go there alone.
Right.
And on the Theriault Jiu-Jitsu Club, which you know because you trained at our school.
Yes.
And I got up to a 3rd degree black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, which was my foundation. So that's why I kind of like MMA also. I understand it. I understood it from the beginning.
Right.
But I remember the first time I went to see a pay-per-view on a giant screen. In those days, it was giant screens in an arena. Ali Frey, the Triller in Manila, with Jean-Yves and his coach, Guy Millette. And that's the first time we saw Jeff Smith fight a kickboxing fight. So that really influenced me. And also, just the fact that one time I went with my brother Jean-Yves in Hall, Quebec, and Bill Superfoot Wallace was the guest at a tournament. And he came in there and he just cleaned up that tournament. The first fight he had, it was against a friend of mine, Webb Corcoran, and he got him with a hook kick right on the side of the head. But this guy was fighting with these glasses with a string on to hold his glasses on, and it just shattered the glass.
Oh my!
And cut him. So they had paid a lot of money to have this guest superstar at the tournament, and they didn't want to disqualify him. So they said, well, it's the glass that cut him, and it was so funny.
Hey, the rules just changed, right?
The rules changed for Superfoot Wallace, and what happened is it was so funny because what impressed me the most is at the end of the tournament he wins this huge trophy. And I was so impressed because he just gave it back because he couldn't put it in the plane.
Wow. Oh my God.
So I was saying, wow, if I would have won a trophy like that, I'd be hugging it. I'd be so happy. Later on, I ended up winning a lot of trophies, but it influenced me a lot to see Bill Superfoot Wallace. And later on, when John Theriault asked me if I was wanted to be the sucker to go in that ring in Sorel, Quebec to do an exhibition fight with him, that was for me. I still remember being in the car, being so nervous. My friends driving me there, and I said, "What did I get into here?"
Right.
I did 2 exhibition fights with him. The second time in Kitchener, Ontario, in front of about close to 4,000 people for Ron Day. He passed. He was a great guy, and that was really fun because Jean-Yves both time was my cornerman, and Jean-Yves was the #1 contender to his title. So this time it was more serious. He was telling me, "Okay, try this," and it was like it was quite an experience.
Well, obviously I was heavily influenced by Mr. Wallace as well, over the years, but it's not about me, it's about you today. I do want to ask you about the influence of what was it about your brother, Jean-Yves Theriault, that made him so special?
I think it's his upbringing, like our father died when we were very young. We were put in foster homes. I feel that a lot of that, some type of inner strength was built through that journey of his. Right. And when he dedicated himself to something, he was never a team player. He was more of a.
That can be an insult, but I know that well. I wasn't either.
That's it. What I mean by he would have been. He didn't like being on a football team or anything, but he Like in wrestling, he would be outstanding in school, and I think what made him great was his dedication to his sport. When he decided, from seeing the Jeff Smith fight, he decided that's what I want to do, and he took every way possible, every training possible to get there. And when he stumbled, when he got knocked out cold in Lake Tahoe against Blinky Rodriguez, well, he went back to the board, and hired the guy that was instrumental in making him the greatest kickboxer, probably of all times, one of them anyway, Guy Millet, who showed him boxing. I always feel that anybody that learns karate, kung fu, Kyokushinkai, if they don't take any boxing courses, or at least to learn the basics, they'll never be great. Because this is the science of boxing, is very important. And the guy that Jean-Yves took that science of boxing and incorporated it with kicks and punches, and he became so fluid at it. You see, guys, when they start kickboxing, they're really forcing that kick, and then when they're set, then they do their punching, and exactly. This makes it's not that good visually to watch. Why did Vic Theriault become an attraction for NBC, CBS, ESPN, and Showtime Live? Is because it was fun to watch. My favorite athletes to watch was Don Ushino Wilson, Rick the Jet Rufus, Dennis Alexio. Look at these guys, the way they fought.
Super athletes, exactly.
Super athletes, the way they fight. And I must say that with what you did in your career, two-time champion in 155 and 163, I feel that you had the balls to come to Ottawa, where everybody would do one round and they would just go back home. You stayed there and you got the shit kicked out of you for a few days, and then you started doing better. But I really feel that moment in your career made you a great champion.
And let me tell you, look, I will endorse exactly what you said. I tell everybody that butt kicking that I got over there from Vic Theriault made me a world champion. Because it took me to another level. It made me think different about fighting. He's taught me different tools about how to train properly and how to be a professional about it. And it just changed everything. I tell everyone, he was totally responsible for, my attitude in the gym and how I went forward. I'm sure you enjoyed him kicking my butt. Like you said, I did get a little better. And even on the second time, I was much better. Right. But the first time, it was like, I thought, are you absolutely kidding me right now? This guy's trying to kill me in here. But he was so powerful and such a great champion. And I appreciate him today. And I just wanted to make sure I talk. But I really want to say this too, that even though you and your brother, you promoted him and everything, was there something, maybe even more of a special connection with you guys because of your upbringing, because of the orphanage situation? Why did he was different than your other brothers, right? They were not like champions and fighters. I mean, I just want to dive a little bit more into that relationship because you seem to be very, very proud of him.
Well, no, it just happened. It's just it just became, I guess, my destiny. I remember my brother Phil told me that one day you'll be a promoter. And I told him I dream of doing a huge event. And when I landed Karate Mania through Joe Corley in Montreal, Karate Mania 5, the Rick Rufus fight, that was a dream come true. But the truth is, I was supposed to be the promoter for Karate Mania 1, Thurman and Jean-Yves. And that would have been better because it was the first one. And I hired lawyers, and they had this promoter, Real Marseille, that used to control the sport. And I'm the one was behind Real Marseille building all those fights.
Right.
And the reason I got involved in kickboxing is the job. John Theriault, the sport started in Quebec, and they didn't have anybody with any knowledge of the sport. So John Theriault suggested to the promoter, why don't you give a job to Jean-Yves' brother, Victor? I moved to Montreal in early '82. Wow. And I told them the first thing we have to do is to get the karate schools, the best karate school, Kyokushinkai school, their best athletes, and fight the best taekwondo guys. Let's create arts versus arts. Right. And I started creating all the undercard fights with the help of John Theriault, and we built the sport for years. And then when I had a falling out after years and years with the Real Marseille, when he wanted one of my fighters to be a victim with Mad Dog Downing, to promote Mad Dog Downing to fight Jean-Yves, I always protected my fighters. And I never wanted, I said, are you kidding me? He says, the guy owes me $5,000 for a car I paid, and that's the way he's going to pay me.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, by getting his brains. Says, no way. And then he said, I'm the one paying you. And then I just hung up on him and I left that gym and I never came back. Then I did my first show by myself. I learned a lot of tricks from Real Marseille.
Right.
They had the 100th anniversary of my hometown, Packetville, New Brunswick, where we were born. They called me up. They asked me, we don't want to honor Jean-Yves. So I created my first event, and it was like a drug. By doing that first show and having a sellout and making a lot of money for that time, it just said, this is what I want to do.
That exactly leads me into what captivated you about promoting. that is, you led right into that, because it is something like a drug. People don't get it. You know, it just kind of like goes into your veins, into your soul, into every part of your being. But what about it? Have you analyzed what about it as a promoter that really grabs you and that's held you for all of these years? Have you broken it down and dissected it, perhaps?
Well, I feel the best time for me was when I walk into that my arena the day of the fight, and that they're setting up the lights and the kids are getting weighed in and they're all coming in and thanking you to be in the car. There's something special about that. And another special part is when the show is finished and win or lose money wise, the people saying, my God, that was a great event. So it's like you're like an artist creating a painting. And to me, that's what I enjoyed. And every field I'm in now, I started producing podcasts now in virtual reality with the famous WWF wrestler Jacques Rougeau.
Right.
I'm getting all these superstars that he's inviting, and I'm just filming these guys in virtual reality setting. And that's, to me, it's like same thing. I'm creating art.
I think you said it, production and art. I think there's something about that I know that really kind of keeps me inspired. But looking at the work when it's finished, looking at the finished product, it's like Van Gogh or Angelo, right? You throw it up in the air and you see what comes down. There's a big part of that in production. And I think that, you have that bug. I certainly have the bug, and it's really interesting. I want you to take a moment while we're talking about promotion. Tell me a little bit about that WCA organization and your role in that.
Well, it's something I created. I was inspired by a friend of mine that used to work in Telemundo, and Ruben Reyes. I don't know if you remember him. He used to get all the PK fights and put them in Telemundo. Became friends with me, and we always dreamed of creating a type of league where we had the pageantry of wrestling, the drama of boxing, and create something. So I came up with that name, the World Combat Arena, and I never forgot it, And then when one day I get a call, the Montreal Casino just built a new high-tech cabaret. First guy was that famous singer Tony Bennett, but the first fight promotion that got a contract was Vic Theriault. I sat down with the big direction of Lotto Quebec, and I was with a partner at the time, and another guy who specialized in production. And I told him when I got the deal, I was close to getting the deal, but they wanted me to present a project in 1 week. So I brainstormed and I said, how did the UFC ever get famous? What made the UFC so great? And I came down to the conclusion it was the question of arts versus art. What happens when a karate fighter fights a kung fu guy? What happens when taekwondo fights karate? Those confrontations. So I created a tournament, and then I have in one of my students that I give private course to. His name is Justin Kingsley, and he came up with a theme for me. He said I'd have to pay $5,000 just to talk to this guy, but since he was my student, he gave it to me for free, and he created the Aizudan tournament. Now, what does that mean? Aizudan. So Aizu means ice in Japanese, and Dan is a grade on a black belt. Therefore, the black belt of combat sports. And I this is what I presented to the casino. This presentation. I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the best of this, best amateurs, and we're going to create the producer that was producing my first year was the guy that produced So You Think You Can Dance Poland. So that's why I had the ring, and I had a stage with 3 judges. One of them was Andre Gilbert, a karate master. The second one was Alain Moussi, who plays Kickboxer, the remake. You know,
Ah.
and the third one was a friend of mine, Michel Labonte, who I told him, "You're going to be the Simon Cowell of this thing. You're going to be
Right, right, right.
guy's no good. You have to sort of insult him, but not,
Right, 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 right.
you have to be nice about it." And one time he comes up and he says, "Is this your first fight?" And the guy said, "Yes." In front of the panel, he said, "Well, make sure it's your last." And the whole
Ah, no way.
and then the crowd went all boo. So I actually, when I presented this show to TVA Sport at first, they were kind of upset about that guy. So they said, if you redo it, get this guy out. So
Right.
the second year I got rid of that formula, and it was a good adventure, and I kind of thinking of bringing it back one day.
Right, right. Now you promote, but currently you promote at a casino over there now. Is it the same casino?
No, I don't. The contract got shut down because 2 years ago, jealousy in the martial arts.
Yeah.
They had a lot of illegal events in Montreal and MMA, doing that in clubs, and the government was starting to shut them down. Well, the Quebec Federation of Kickboxing, which was legal there in the Olympic Park, like with Taekwondo Quebec and Karate Quebec, whatever,
Right.
they were a legit company.
Right.
But the lawyers of these bad guys seen that they hadn't renewed their chart, and they had, like, let's say a comma misplaced somewhere, and that made the show sort of illegal. They
Right.
didn't know. So the police phoned the casino just before I do a show with my great friend Joe Volusian. I had Canada versus South Africa. I had a team of 5 airfares paid by Joe Volusian. At the airport, guys crying, not being able to take the plane because my show got canceled.
Wow.
So I shared the Lotto Quebec, and I lost a 3-year contract. They were giving me good bucks every year. They would renew for 3 years, and I just got, so that's why after that I went with the Playground Poker, and I did my last event there, and then I got shut down with COVID.
Right, right, right. So being shut down with COVID, though, what is it looking like for you to get going again?
Well, right now, I just scouted last week with my partner, Johan Colbe, a nice hall. But the problem is with the city of Montreal right now, you're not allowed more than 35 people as fans.
Wow.
So even if I want to do a show, very unique production-wise that you know about, it's still not enough. I need 200 people, VIP, at let's say $100 a ticket to do an ISKA amateur world title fight, plus 2 other North American fights and a Canadian title fights. So I need at least 200 people at $100 to at least get a basic, and then and then the rest would be live on pay-per-view on the iFeel virtual network.
You got to have a formula when you promote. A lot of people don't. They just go and promote. If you don't have the formula, and if it doesn't come together, you will lose your butt. I've been in that situation several times where I've lost my butt. I don't lose money now on promotions, right? It's just because of the way I do them. I have a what I call my intellectual infrastructure, right? That I protect very closely, and the way I do shows now. So it's not about losing money for me anymore for shows. That's past. I've learned my mistakes, and it looks like to me you have a similar formula. I do want to.
I lost one time. I only lost the John Eves retirement fight. I listened to a lot of bad influence guys. Oh, no, we're going to do this at this place. Yeah. Celine Dion doing this in the forum. And if I wait, I stalled. And it was a dream for me. It was irritating me that my brother's last fight was with Rick Rufus, and he would end his career on a defeat. So I took it upon myself to give him that fight. Okay. And then John Winklejohn got injured, so I had to switch the fight.
Mike Winklejohn.
Yes, a famous MMA trainer now. That was the fight I had. He phones me up 3 weeks before his mother-in-law died, and he pulled out. So, I understood, and I had to, but then I had a partner in there. It was Eddie Adjohar. Remember him, the doctor, and he is a former world champion.
Right.
And the profit I made, the guy stiffed me with the check for the pay-per-view. So I never got the, and I didn't have the lawyers to go after him in the States. And now he passed away, so I don't want to badmouth the guy. But that was the only time I lost. Usually, if I didn't make any money, but I didn't lose, I lost a little bit. But I always counted my beans the right way to make sure that I'm protected.
Right, and that's really important. That's guys. If you ever want to be a promoter out there, this is the guy you need to listen to. He definitely knows what he's talking about. I do want, while we're talking about promotions, though, I do know that you have a thing when it comes to low kick versus high kick. In particular, I should say high kick versus low kick. I know you have a thing about that with the promotions that you do. Mostly at first, I remember some years ago, you and I were having a conversation and you were all high kick. It was like, I want high kick, I want high kick, I want high kick, period. Slowly but surely, right? You kind of adjusted a little bit and went into some international rules with the low kick. Yes. You're not still there when it comes to Muay Thai yet, but I want you to maybe explain real talk, real solutions, your philosophy in that, and if you might be willing to bend a little bit based on the direction of the sport today.
I did, Ben. I did include some low kick fights in my last events, and it's just that if you look back in time, there was a time when the PKA you'd be able. They had recognizable stars, Alexio, the Dragon, the Jet, all these guys. You had ratings on television. Why? Because the sport was very, very spectacular. Where the fighters themselves, well, I don't want to do like high kicks because it takes a lot more out of you. You're a former ISKA champion. You know what it is to do a 12-round fight and have to throw 8 kicks per round. Right. I was just with one of my fighters who was mainly a boxer. And he was explaining to me the tough fight he had with a guy named Lozo, a good prospect in MMA. Mm-hmm. He says, when I started fighting, I was all, in that first round, as soon as I threw that first kick, I almost gassed out in the first kick, because he was so used to just boxing. He had to tough out and do the 3 rounds, but, and it was a slugfest and he won. But for him, he all he thought about, I got to do those 8 kicks. Right. What I like now about the ISKA is that I don't have to I could do a boxer versus kickboxer fight now because the guys don't have to do the 8 kicks. So that will attract a lot of Muay Thai fighters. A Muay Thai fighter can throw a hell of a round kick in the belly and a hell of a round kick in the face or front kicks, spinning kicks anyway. It's just that their game is attacking the legs. And then when the guy can't walk anymore and no balance, well, then they can come in close and box. Right. Since I'm a big avid boxing fan, I used to love Dennis Aguero, Leonard, Mike Tyson, pure boxing beast. I promoted Vitaly Klitschko's first kickboxing fight in Las Vegas, and I remember seeing him, the joy I had seeing him fight Lennox Lewis, losing, but just saying, I know that guy, and he's a friend of mine. Yeah. So, but to me, the best TV sport is great experienced karate fighters, not a white belt or whatever, because then when you see guys that are not that good of a kicker and start kickboxing, it's terrible visually. You're better off doing leg kick fights where they don't have to lift up the leg very high and they can box. Right. But if you get artists like Rick the Jet Rufus, you remember him. He was like so charismatic when he was in that ring. Sure. He was like a Michael Jordan of the sport. He can paint this. Yeah.
But Victor, without honesty, that did change. Matter of fact, when he had that fight over in Vegas, which I was there, with the Thai guy, that everybody uses today is that this is why, Muay Thai is better. It's not so much that it's better.
It's not better.
It's not better. It's just another a form of fighting. And if you don't know how to defend a leg kick, then you're in trouble.
My take on this, if it's self-defense, okay, we're not talking about visual sport. A sport. Joe Corley gave me the best analogy on this. He says, if you're a basketball team, one guy's got a baseball bat and the other guy doesn't. And then when the guy jumps for the hoop, the guy with the baseball bat hits him in the leg. Who's going to win the game? Yeah, all right. So any sport that you take the guy's balance off, you're not going to get as good as the show. Right. But these guys have trained now. The Muay Thai fighters, I was watching Badahari the other day, a great Badahari fight, and I was like hypnotized because these guys are trained to take those kicks. And so it's not my cup of tea, but one of my best friends and best trainer that I'm associated with through ISK Canada, and he's runs Muay Thai Canada, we're going to have a lot of fights. We're going to do some fights that are going to be real Muay Thai fights on the World Combat Arena, because the World Combat Arena is all about art versus art. So if I can have, for my fans are very important. If they want that, I'll give it to them. Okay. But I'm not sure. I'm not. I truly enjoy seeing a really good Muay Thai or a glory fight.
Okay. Well, good, because that changed a little bit over the years.
Yes,
everybody has a right to change. I had to change too. I mean, I was a high kick fighter. And when I first started my PKB organization, even though I said Muay Thai and all that was there, I didn't understand it. So I had to go in and make an adjustment to over these last, 15 years. I've learned a lot more about Muay Thai and the clinching and sweeps and stuff like that. And all that now has bettered my organization. And now while we have PMT, which is Point Muay Thai, we have the PKB, which is Point Kickboxing and all of that, because I invited all to come and let people participate in our own style, because all of it has a fan base and everything. And I think that is something that I'm glad now that you've decided to kind of make that change. I guess while we're in that area, because you mentioned something earlier about 12 rounds, your brother Jean-Yves used to fight 12-round fights, right? I used to fight 12 rounds.
They didn't last 12 rounds, most of them, but yes.
That you are correct, sir. You hit so hard, if you were lucky to go 3 rounds. Anyway, but 12 rounds, and I've been making this argument for a long time about the rounds. And in fact, I have my first professional 9-round fight coming up here in October. And I have a reason for that, right? And I've explained it many times on my show, my philosophy of it, because I think it gives more entertainment time, it gives more sponsorship time, it gives more strategic time for the trainers, and perhaps even more rest time for the fighters, at least the breaks in that sense. What is your take on that, sir?
Well, my take is I truly believe that for the professionals, a guy fighting in a pro kickboxing fight, if he wants to win a provincial title, he has to fight 7 rounds of 2 minutes. If he wants to win a national title, it would be 9 rounds of 2 minutes. And if he wants to fight in a world title fight, 12 rounds of 2 minutes. Now, 2 minutes is 2 minutes looks like nothing compared to boxing, but 2 minutes when you have to lift that leg up, it's 4 tools, and it takes a lot out of you. So you have to be in tremendous shape. And if you look back at those great athletes in the old days, that's you and my friend Carl Emery. Carl Emery was one of the great champions out of Switzerland, and I train his son now. Killian is one of my top end prospects, and he was always telling me how tough and how hard it was, but he got in shape. He got in shape to do it.
Right. And I think it's just really important. Oh, excellent. I'm so glad that you said that and kind of, again, endorsed exactly the change. But nobody's doing them right now. But everybody stopped. Everybody went to 5 rounds. I'm talking about for World Tide. That changes October 9th in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. That changes. I'm changing the game. And when I change it, and people are going to see how exciting it is, you watch it. Everybody else will follow. Believe me, you heard it right here on Johnny Davis Live. Real talk, real solutions. All right.
I believe it.
All right. I'm going to change gears for just a moment. You've met a lot of people, Vic. A lot of people. And I just kind of want to just, kind of take a few moments and have you kind of do a little shout outs, if you will, for some of the people that you've met. I have, kind of a couple of names, right? That, you can maybe make a quick point on, or a quick story you might have on. Chuck Norris. Let's talk with Chuck. So how did you know Chuck?
Well, Chuck, it just happened. I was kind of lucky because I was invited to Battle of Atlanta by Joe Corley, VIP, and I was sitting at his table with Chuck Norris watching the finals. Right. And so he got to know me. And then a week later, I get a call saying that from Texas, that an agency in Montreal had got fired, and he was promoting the movie Sidekick. And Chuck referred my name, says, I know Victor Theriault. So I had a weekend to be his agent for a day. And that was one of the greatest days of my life. I was in a limousine. I started in the morning. I pick him up at the hotel. He invites me in. He opens the door. He's just out of the shower with a towel. You can see he was still buff. And then he said, hey, you want to have breakfast, Vic? So I had breakfast with him and said, what's the agenda for today? And I had it all planned, all these things. I had a weekend to do this. But when my contacts, I pulled it off, it was like, I said to myself, shit, I should have been an agent, because it was so cool. It was, and at the end of the day, at the end of the last part of the trip, of that fun trip for me, was I reunited all the karate masters and their best black belts that had helped me through the years, filling up my arenas. And I said, I'm doing a private party, come and meet Chuck Norris. And Chuck spoke to all those masters. Wow. Want to see my movie. And they all got a picture with him. Angelo Di Bella, Andre Gilbert, all these great fighters I had, Jersey Long, Daryl Hannigan, they were all there at this party. Wow. And it gave me a lot of clout. And then that's how I became friends with him. Later on, when the World Combat League started.
Right.
I was never that much of a fan, but I had to go see it myself because I didn't
Yeah.
like no ring. I don't
Right.
like you can't corner
Right.
somebody.
I get it.
And the
Right.
first show I seen, I was so upset with the referees in there. I said, the referees is trying to be the star here. No, you're not allowed to do this. And I was just fuming. I was invited to go see it. And I was the guy that was supposed to have the Canadian franchise, the Canadian Huskies.
Ah.
Two franchise that Chuck was planning. Nobody knows this. You will find it first. The other one was British Invasion, the British team, and
Right.
I had the Canadian Huskies.
Right.
That's the name they gave it. Don't ask me why. And I was working at the time for the Monster Truck Spectacular show. I did the tour with Chris Arell,
Right.
and then he decided he wanted to pick this thing up and bring it to the Montreal Forum. So we flew again to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I got to see two WCL shows, and it gave me a bit of ideas of how to build the World Combat Arena. I kept the ring, but I kept I created the art versus art format.
Sure.
And
so
that's
things like that, right? Things like that are educational. That's why it's good to keep your minds open. And I know we don't have a ton of time here today. Now we could talk forever. I guarantee you we could have a 3-hour conversation. So I'm going to try to be a little bit more, directed. Another person back in the day that you kind of hung around with was Jean-Claude Van Damme. Tell me a little bit about him.
Well, Van Damme. Van Damme was a guest at my first show when I did Vitaly Klitschko at the Thomas and Mack Arena. That was an ISK event. I had the main event was Troy Dorsey against Nichayev, one of the best fights I ever produced. Wow. Like that great fight. Nichayev's kicking the living shit out of Dorsey for the first 3-4 rounds, and then Dorsey comes back. He's got a cement head. He just comes back, and he just spectacular win the whole thing. It was one of the floss, but I was actually lucky because the guys that were promoting this was Jan Plass. He had the money, put the money in a bank account in Vegas. He didn't know how to speak English, so I became the front man promoter. So I was like playing Don King in Vegas, and it was just it's just a nice part of my life that day. And I still remember Vitaly Klitschko. I had given the team, it was like $10,000 for the five Russian guys, 2,000 each. What I didn't know is Chestov, the coach, took $9,000 and he split $200 to each guy to fight.
Oh my God!
And so, but I remember the joy when I presented the world title belt, because one of the main event was Brad Hefton against Vitaly Klitschko.
Wow.
First kick that Klitschko gave Hefton broke his arm. So Klitschko had to do 12 rounds against this 19-year-old, 6'7" young kid that became one of the greatest boxers in heavyweight history. Yes, and one thing I remember about this time is when I went to say bye to the team, I became really friends with Vitaly Klitschko that week. He would always hang around with me in the pool. He was a young kid. They were walking around with CCCP, like, right. I had created it was Russia versus Canada versus USA at the Thomas and Mack. So I was, the loudmouth I am. I would bring him in every casino, this 6'7" giant. And he was kind of walking droopy because he's a baby. He wasn't all formed like a big man yet. But I was like, hey, this is Vitaly Klitschko, the heavyweight contender for the title. And I would bring him everywhere. So he got friends with me. I'll never forget going in his room when they were leaving. His bed was full of bubble gum and nylons and things. That's what they did with $200. They bought all kinds of things for their friends and their wives. And it just got me emotional saying that prick, I gave him $200. And I didn't even want to talk to Chestov. And this was something I did with my great champion, Michel Lavalle. He was like partners with me and Jan Plass, God bless his soul. He was the greatest trainer ever in Holland. Rob came in, personal trainer. He showed me leg kick. One time he was in the elevator with me. He said, you want to see what a leg kick is? Bang, he hits me in the leg. I couldn't walk for a week. He showed me how when you throw it, how you bring it down, and it's like a Charlie horse.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. So I have great memories of Jan Plass.
I know that you mostly kickboxing promotions, but you also obviously become somewhat of a fan of MMA. I guess, are you a fan of MMA, or what are your thoughts about MMA? Especially the fact that I see that you met Dana White.
Yeah, no, that was the first time he was in Montreal. He was like, he's a big fan of Jean-Yves, and I decided to go to the press conference, and when he knew I was Jean-Yves Theriault's brother, he wanted to take it, and I said, I'll take a picture with you, and I was just, that's the only time I met him, so I don't want to lie bullshit about that.
Right.
Art Davies, he was on email, text me yesterday. Art Davies, the guy that started the UFC, and
Right.
he was giving me. I'm doing research for a documentary I'm creating, and I said, you remember when the show got shut down in Buffalo, New York, and I got to be the last reporter. I wasn't even a reporter, but because I had done Karate Mania and I had done Battlecade in Montreal, he let me get in on that plane when the show was all taken apart there. It was sold out, and they had to cancel the show, and they flew us in a private jet with Tank Abbott, with all the greats, Vizio,
Wow.
Vitor Belfort. I was in a plane with them, and then I see them set up, and then I got to sit right in first row to see Tank Abbott and Ferrozo.
What?
That was a USC 12. So I got I got to see it, the core, when it was starting. But don't forget, one of my
Right.
slogan is "No ground, just pound." Stand up and So I'm not that much of a fan, but since I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, I understand what they're going through and I
Right.
appreciate it. But to me, as a television sport, I'm thinking it's not it's flattened right now. I feel there's a space for a new. That's why people wonder why I don't call my shows kickboxing. I created the WCA is the Strikers series. Why? The Strikers is really exciting. The Grapplers is less exciting for television. So I created the WCA the Strikers series. Just to
Right.
explain why it's most of my advertising is always the Strikers series.
Right.
Stand
Right.
up and fight.
I, I just want to go really quick because I know I'm running down. Somebody who you spent a lot more intimate time with was GSP, George St. Pierre, right? And so tell me a little bit about your relationship with George.
I got really lucky. One of my after his fight with I can't remember his name. The second to last fight, Hendricks. Johnny
Mhm.
Hendricks. Everybody thought he had won. His face looked all mangled and everything.
Right,
But
right,
George, you just touch him like this and he bruises. He's got that skin. So he looked really bad, but he won and everybody was mad, blah, blah, blah. He looked, and then he said, "Oh, you got to take a break." Well, then he took a break and he went to Thailand. And he was living at my fighter, Michel Lavalle,
hmm
his mansion somewhere. Michel made it really big in hotels over there, and he's
right,
really.
right, right, right,
So he went to say, "I'm going to go hide in Thailand." JSP was there. One morning when he woke up, Michel Lavalle, my fighter, he has a private gym, and he was doing some bag work, uppercut, hook, spinning back fists, all these spinning kicks and everything. He says, "Where'd you learn all that?" And he tells him, "Victor Theriault." He said, "What? The promoter?" I said,
right,
"Yeah, Victor Theriault's a coach. That's my passion, was to coach at
right,
first."
right,
And so I said, "No." And he said, "Yeah, I could hook you up with him," because he was tired of what he was. He said, "I'm really sick of all the shit that I'm learning, just the Muay Thai all the time and blah, blah, blah.
right,
I'm getting hit for them, blah, blah." So he says, "If I were you," this is Mike LaValle phones me up and said, "I told him you're the best mitt guy, to do mitts with
right.
in Canada by far." So George St. Pierre, he says, "George St. Pierre, going to phone you Monday." I didn't even believe it. I was a big fan. The Quebec, he's God
Right.
here. So I get a call from George St. Pierre. Talked about half an hour, and I told him straight out, said, "Listen, I'll give you the first course. And if you don't click, no problem. I'll just be honored to have worked with you." And Christophe Midu, who was his pearl of wisdom. This guy
Right.
was like the guy that formed George St. Pierre. And he was there and he was yelling when I was teaching him something. He said, "That's what I told you about George. That's what you got to do." And sort of just hammered it in George that he's got to hire me. So then he gave me the job. I started training him every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I
Wow.
prepared him, and all the way he was in New York City. The first guy he called when he twisted his knee, busted his knee again. He was crying on the phone, and he was telling Vic, "I won't be able to go." He was training with some of the Gracies over there, and after that, he went on a long break. He would send me emails. He was at the Arnold Schwarzenegger's house because his wife is like a nurse or something, and
Right,
he
right.
was the one taking care of him. So it was like
Wow,
we were
wow.
watching the Super Bowl together, and I was getting all these emails from him. So I have a nice relationship with George, and
Nice.
one of the greatest things in my martial art career is when I was one of the five coaches he thanked in his retirement speech.
Oh wow, man, that is so awesome. Look, I want to, as I start to wind down here, I want to ask you about what is and I'm just going to be a quick kind of like a bullet point shot here. I know you got to run here in a minute, right? What would you say were your most biggest accomplishments as a promoter?
I'd say filling up the Karate Mania 5 and 8. Okay, that was probably the greatest ones. And working, one of the things I enjoyed, the show that I enjoyed, is doing the Mike Tyson Undisputed Truth show in Toronto. You
Right.
know, help produce that, and then a month later, flying to Monaco for the Prince Albert and the Sportel to do it in Monaco a week. And at that time, it was great because Sugar Shea Mosley came and he was knocking on my door every morning to do
Wow.
mitts with him. So I learned boxing, how to hold the mitts for a guy that beat Oscar De La Hoya. So
Right.
it was like something. I'd like to say before I leave, I
No, you
really
have
like
time.
a shout out to some of the guys that, you know, like there's a guy in Italy that's my project with virtual reality is very involved, like you will be, and it's Eugenio Tomasino, and he's like the pearl of wisdom for me. He's a lawyer, but he's also a former champion. And I'd like to give a shout out to South Africa to Joe Velusian, the guys at the ISKA. They gave me gave me the position of director of ring sport in Canada. And to me, that was a very proud moment. So Corey Schaefer and Mike Sawyer, they're personal friend of mine, and
Good guys.
I appreciate what they did for me. And I would have to say also Billy Murray out of Ireland, that I brought some Izudan fighter there, and I got treated like king. And Johnny has a good relationship with Billy Murray. So these are key guys that I'd be able to do events, international events, and also
Right.
a shout out to all my team at I Feel Virtual that we've talked about the other day.
As we wind down, and I just want to say that you seem to value, you talked about me, you said I like to smile a lot.
Yes,
But you also like to smile a lot. I read your face, I read your eyes. When you're around people, you light up. You have this huge connection of friends across the country, around the world. How important is a good friendship to you?
very important. I'm the type of guy that I trust people, and a lot of times it hurt me, and I'm sure you went through that. I gave a lot to a lot of people, and they don't realize the effort I did in promoting him, giving him that moment of joy, and but that I now I getting older, you know. If I feel good about it, I like to treat people the way I'd want to be treated, and
Right.
I am passionate, and this is what I really enjoy about you, Johnny. I told you this. I never seen you not smile, even when you were in Ottawa getting the shit kicked out of you. You were
Yeah.
saying, "I'm learning, I'm learning."
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
to me, you're a true friend, and I'm going to back you. If I know you're an innovative promoter. You're one of the best in the United States for
Thank
all those youth that are coming up. I seen this little kid doing an interview the other day with that belt, and the joy
you. Right.
and a lot of people were writing, well, I don't think he won the fight and everything. But that kid's demeanor, I said, that's Johnny David.
Yeah.
That's the guy that showed him how to act like a champion.
Thank
And
you.
this is what I really appreciate. And I hope I hope one day I could, work with you and bring some of my fighters to
Yes.
some IKF champions against some ISK champions. It would be great because this is what the
Right.
sport's all about.
It is. What is your greatest wish for the sport?
Well, I'd like to bring back a Showtime to Canada with Bellator. One of my idol is Scott Coker, so I'd like
Good
to,
guy.
yeah, I'd like to bring to be producing another. I felt it, I tasted it with two Showtime events. The big leagues, and now I know that Showtime is back into the MMA and kickboxing. They have a kickboxing division. So one of the projects I dream of doing one day, probably be done on the playground poker, would be a cage, a ring, and a stage for bands, and we create a whole day of events. And this is a dream that I have with my blood brother, like I say, Mike Thomas.
Right. You've given so much to this game. And first of all, I'm so appreciative for all of your hard work, your dedication, your enthusiasm, and respect for the sport. But I do want to ask you one final question. When, with all of your accomplishments, when will you say, well done, Vic?
When I when I feel I'm ready. I mean, I'm not ready right now, So I feel like by being stalled for 2 years with the COVID thing, I'm like a beast in a cage. I can't wait to create again. But
Right.
I take my time. I'm not going to run and do it wrong. And I have a lot of support. I have a great wife that put up with me, because a lot of times, when you're
Right.
doing this, and I have a daughter, Jordana, that's just moved out of Egypt after 3 years, and now she's in England. So I'm going to be visiting England soon, and I appreciate being a family man also, and
Right.
I think that they're very important in my life, and from what they did, and to have the patience for, because a lot of times it wasn't a very good paying job. I always had other jobs. I was a very good
Sure.
salesman. I sold houses.
I can believe that.
Yeah, I sold a lot of houses to all my neighborhood. I was working for a contractor. This is all my clients. So I never had a guy to come back to me and sold me a bad house. So I've worked in a lot of different little projects, but to make ends meet when my kickboxing wasn't that. But
Right.
my passion was always promoting, and
Right.
I think that Joe Corley once gave me a compliment, told me that I was a promoter's promoter. So to me,
I agree.
that was the best compliment I ever had.
Well, in closing, Don King has the hair,
I had
and
the hat.
you have the hat. What is it about that hat that is so important to you? On my final question.
Well, I read this book only in America by Don King. It was like a religion for me to know how. And I was an imposter for a week in Atlantic City to learn at Don King's event when Tyson fought Spinks. I was interviewing all the guys. I had an
Wow.
accreditation, so when a reporter gave me that, so I
Right.
had to learn everything. But one of the things about that book that I learned is that Don King, he needed something to be recognized, and he got out of the shower, and his hair started, it was all up in the air, and he had this vision that, shit, it looks like a crown. So his name is King, blah blah blah, and he got,
Right.
and I said to myself, well, I need something to, so everybody, when I go into a place, it's a guy with a hat, either a cool hat or whatever. So that's the reason. That's the only reason I wanted a trademark.
Well, you got it. Victor Theriault, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today, and I look forward to chatting with you again real soon, sir. Thanks so much for being on Johnny Davis Live.
Thank you so much.
Talk to you soon, sir. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you saw it right there for yourself, Mr. Victor Theriault. He was there doing his thing there, as he always does, so passionate. He's given so much to the sport, and you know what? He is not yet done. I look so forward to seeing what the future holds for this young man. I'm going to say young man, right? Because we're all out here trying to give 110%. I also want to bring up Mr. Derek Reams right there. Mr. Derek Reams is on special assignment right now. He's actually going to be interviewing a lot of the fighters who are coming up for our big show in October. I think this weekend he's interviewing the United States champions. He's going to spend almost a day there with some of those fighters, with Chelsea Maynard and Anna Toole. All right, so that's going to be excellent, guys. We're going to be showing it on our YouTube channel. We're going to be showing it on our Facebook channels coming up this weekend as it gets started. And we'll also, of course, be talking to our professional 9-round contenders, guys. That's going to be one of the most exciting things in the sports history. I'm telling you, we're coming back. We're bringing back the sport of Muay Thai and kickboxing, really. I'm going to say it both because they're doing international rules. There's going to be kneeing. There's going to be some clinching in that as well, although limited, guys. 9 rounds of kickboxing action. Caleb Hunter and Jeremiah Scott's going to be doing their thing on October the 9th in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina at the Landmark Resort. Tickets are going to go on sale like the 1st of September, but some of the fighters will have some tickets maybe a little bit earlier. You do not want to miss that event. It's going to be great. Not only that, we're going to have like 100 other championship fights for the East Coast Classic. It's going to be going on that weekend as well. By the way, registration is going on right now at akpromotions.org. You do not want to miss that event, guys. It's going to be absolutely outstanding. I'm excited about it. Just want to also remind everyone that we are still looking for contenders. We only have until the 19th. That's only about a week before you can enter the divisions. We're looking for, even though Chelsea Maynard will be defending her title right now against Anna Toole, But, another person can get in. Actually, two more people can get in, but you got to register by the 19th. If you do not contact me by then, overdone. Those two ladies are going to go at it. Also, we have Jaden Reeves, right? He's going to be taking on Ronan Swinson. Two more fighters can get into that, but you need to let us know by August the 19th, or it will not happen. Tyrese Cunningham at 122 pounds is looking for a challenger. No one has stepped up. Why? Because he's bad news in a good way. All right. Very talented fighter and everything. He's also looking for a challenger. If you want some, come and get some. That's what I say. This is the real deal over here. We do real fighting, guys. Contact us, akpromotions.org, or Johnny D at akpromotions.org, guys. As I said, coming up soon, those tickets are going to be on sale for the IKF East Coast Classic, guys. So get ready for that. I got a feeling that Saturday night show is going to sell out. So when the tickets go on sale, you might want to grab them really fast, right? Because I'm telling you, I think that show is going to sell out. And, the Landmark doesn't hold for so many people anyway, right? And also, we're going to pack out. Remember, we have a Friday night show. That will be where Jaden Reeves and Ronan Swinson will be fighting. That's on October the 8th, on a Friday night. And then that Saturday morning, we'll have more fights between 9 and 5. We have about 35, 40 fights that morning. All in one ring, all with lights, all with food, all with a live DJ. It is great. And then that Saturday night, October 9th, right, we start our professional show. I say professional show. One professional fight on the 9-round professional fight with about probably 12 amateur fights, but then for titles and all of that and elimination bouts is going to be outstanding on October 9th. That show will start at 7 o'clock. Then whatever we have left on Sunday morning, we're going to finish up the tournament, guys. That will probably start around 9 and go to around as late as maybe 3 or 4 o'clock, but we try to finish it even earlier than that. So listen, it's going on, guys. More information at akpromotions.org. All of the information is right there. Please check it out, guys. We're trying to continue to grow and continue to build our great sport of Muay Thai and kickboxing, whether it's in semi-contact or full contact, guys. We have it going on for you. Listen, that's all I have for you guys today. I want to thank you for watching yet another edition of Johnny Davis Live. Always respect each other. Fort March, this is Johnny Davis Live, and I'm checking out.